Your entire life consists of weighing up choices, whether it's the career you pursue, where you choose to live, or the friendships you make.
But then there's always a thought, do these things really make us happy?
I was working at Goldman Sachs at the time, living in New York City, perfect view, and everywhere I went, there was a driver waiting for me. To everybody around me, I was living a dream, but I felt like something was missing, a deep need for something more.
So I had many questions growing up. I just really wanted to get to the bottom of the truth.
I knew that there was something looking after me. In fact, I called it the thing. I'd say to people, the thing's happening.
By the time I got to university, I was sort of like the persecutor of Christians. I was pursuing questions of the universe. Where did the universe come from and why are we here? My head is like in turmoil, and after I prayed, it all ceased. There is a purpose for life.
When Jesus found me, that's when my life began to change. I just felt this, just a heavy load was lifted up off of me. It's the most beautiful thing about the gospel of Jesus Christ.
I thought as a Christian and as a university graduate, I shouldn't believe in something that I couldn't back up.
I've been a Christian for 25 years, and I never really asked for the Holy Spirit. All of a sudden, just like Peter, I wanted to start sharing about Jesus, what he'd done for me.
I hear this voice, all I need is your time. I created time. I can get everything done that you need done if you give me your time first.
The I Am series is a chance to uncover the true meaning and purpose for all of our lives. It's an opportunity to examine the evidence for who Jesus Christ really is and what his death and resurrection means for all of us. To receive training tips and regular updates on this outreach opportunity, register your interest at iam.org.au.
You know, I'm sure you can put yourself into his shoes. I mean, he had been educated, he'd been taught at one of the top universities in the world. You know, it was the Egyptian equivalent of Oxford or Harvard. And he learned about politics, military strategy, law, economics. You know, everyone at the top of his society believed he would make it. He was the best that they had. He would go really, really far. But you know, the fact is this. He graduated and he found himself in his first real job absolutely bored out of his tree. You know, here he was, this Egyptian graduate, and all his job was to do was to follow sheep around. You know, trying to coax them to go where he wanted them to go, trying to, you know, find food for them, trying to get them out of trouble. You know, this was his real job. And I'm sure you can understand that he thought to himself, you know, is this really all there is to life? Or is there more than life than this? You know, one day, as Moses was coming round the mountain with his annoying, frustrating, dirty, stupid bunch of sheep, you know, comes around the corner, and there's a flicker in the corner of his eye, and he looks at it, and he's going like, what's that? I better go and check it out. And there it is, a bush that is burning. a bush that is on flames and on fire, just as we talked about in Sabbath school this morning. And the amazing thing is that the bush doesn't burn. It doesn't go out. It's still burning. And he goes, I'll have to check this out. I have to go and see. Leave the sheep here and I'll go and see what it's all about. And as he heads over to this amazing curiosity, he hears this booming voice, Moses, Moses. And all that Moses could answer, remember where he was at, what he was doing at the moment. All that Moses could answer was, here I am. What did he mean by that? He said, here I am. This is me. This is all I've got. What you're looking at is all you can see. All I am. And then he started to talk with God. He met God for the very first time. He encountered God, Yahweh. And God unfolded before him this incredible vision that he had of what God was going to plan for him, how he's going to be a leader, how he's going to lead people out of slavery into freedom, to the promised land. But then at that point, Moses asks the person in the burning bush, he says to him, well, who are you? Who are you? What's your name? And that's where God says to him, I am. Tell them I am has sent you. Tell them I am has sent you. It's an amazing thing if you go around the world today that you'll find that there's a movement that's sweeping through arts, culture, advertising right across this world. If you decide that you're going to go to Europe and go to Munich or Hamburg or Strasbourg or places like that, there's actually women's boutique stores that are called I Am, that you can go and buy your jewelry there. Some of you may remember the films that was Nutty Professor and also Bruce Almighty. Well, the interesting thing with that is that the film producer for those films was involved in a situation where he faced death. He was very, very close to death. And because of that experience, he went from filming these comedies to saying, I want to film a documentary about what does life really mean. And what did he label the film as? He called it the I Am documentary. Not only this, if you're driving down Victoria Road here in Sydney and you pass a bus stop, you're liable to pass one of these bus stops with an advertisement. And it's the Nikon or Nikon cameras. And they've got a advertising series called I Am. So in this case, it's I am Marco Polo. It's the idea that I'm an explorer. This is who I am. I am Marco Polo. Not only this, it's maybe a bit hard to read, sorry. There's a dance company, a female dance company called I Am. And what you can do is if you're an executive producer or executive team and you like to have a really classy dinner with something different, you can actually pay for the I Am company to come in. They will serve you dinner, but they actually do a contemporary dance at the same time as well. So it's a very exotic kind of thing to have. And right at the bottom of this, their page here, they say to themselves, I am is a movement. Join the movement, express yourself. There's this idea in the community that I want to be who I am. I want to express myself. I want to show you who I am, and I want you to accept that. The problem with this is that we know as Christians, oh so well, that if you want to build your life on yourself, what happens? It crumbles. There comes a point in your life where when you're part of a dance company or a film producer or you're amazing photographer and you get to the point like Moses and you say, is this all of life that is? Is this all it is? And for some people they go through this midlife crisis, but other people they say, well, that's it, I don't want any more of life. The fact is that if we want to really help people, if we want to really be there for people, to lead them out of this slavery, we need to introduce them to the great I Am. The I Am who said that I am the bread of life. I can sustain you through life. I can give you the sustenance that you need. I am the fountain of living water. You know, when you drink of me, I quench your thirst. You'll never be thirsty again. You know, Jesus also said, I am the way and the truth and the life. If you want to come to the Father, if you want to have eternal life, if you want to know the truth, come to Jesus. And so it's because of this, because of what we believe that Jesus can offer people in our community, here in Penrith, in Greater Sydney, and Australia as well. We actually developed the I Am series. The I Am series basically say, within this I Am culture of expressing yourself, being who you want to be, there is a person that we want to introduce you to. We want to introduce your secular friends to, and that is the great I Am. Recently, there was a study done by the McCrindle Research Company called Faith and Belief in Australia. They did it around the time of the census. And they were studying this interest in spirituality in Australia. And the fascinating thing is this, is that most of us think that Australians are very secular. They have no interest in religion, no interest in faith and spirituality. And in many ways, that's so true. But this is what they found in their study. What they found is that for non-Christians, 10% are actually very interested, very open to spirituality and faith. 13% said they would consider. Now, of course, there's that 77%, that long bar down there, which said they would not be interested. But put that down, put the numbers to that. That's 23% of Australians would be interested in exploring faith. And if you do the numbers for here in Greater Sydney, that's about 1.1 million people. 1.1 million non-Christians would be interested in exploring faith. The other thing they found is this, is that the greatest influence on people's opinions about things, worldview and stuff like that. Number one, it's amazing. Number one influence on people's opinions and worldview is still parents and family. Would you believe that? So I want to tell you this, that if you're a parent here today, I want to tell you that you are the person that has the greatest shaping influence on your kids. Do you believe that? It is so, so important. And I want to encourage you, talk about your faith. Why do you believe in Jesus? Why are you so excited about Jesus coming back and the Holy Spirit? Because your opinions still shape your kids and your family. But second is this. Second is friends and networks. You have a big influence on your friends upon their opinions and their choices in life. Not only this, but also they ask people, if you were to consider spirituality, if you were to think about spirituality, what is the top kind of prompts for doing that? And right across the board, for all of these generations, it's conversations with people, it's conversations with friends and work colleagues and neighbors as well. We believe that, you sitting here today are the greatest evangelists, greatest missionaries for Penrith Church. You believe that? You sitting here, it's not, sorry, Pastor Murray, but it's all of you who are the greatest evangelists for the Christian message. It's your influence on your friends and your family. And Mario, Pastor Mario, is simply a guide to cheer you on to go out there and share your faith. Do you believe that? You are the greatest missionaries. You are the greatest evangelists. And so because of this, we have developed the I Am series as a tool, to help you, to give you some resources to share your faith. So what is the I Am series? It's an evangelistic tool to introduce secular people to, number one, Jesus and Christianity, and to lead them also to belong to the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And so we're focused on reaching secular young professionals in particular who are open to faith. So what does it look like? Well, it's pretty simple, but it's pretty cool as well, particularly if you're a young person. It's basically this, over 10 weeks, we get together each week. Number one, we have a dinner. Now, I want to tell you that it's so important to have food. Food is an amazing thing to have. It's an amazing evangelistic opportunity. Number two, there's a presentation of film that we've done. And afterwards, there is a discussion, so that conversation with friends as well. And this is the actual series. So it's over 10 weeks, but what we've got is we've got 13 topics. And right in the middle is a Sabbath away, where you take your friends to experience a Sabbath with you. And so we go through, number one is there more to life than this? No, that's the first episode, first topic. Number two is suffering. What's wrong with the world? And this is one of the biggest questions that people have in society. But then we move to Jesus. And let me tell you, the whole process, the whole journey is very, very focused on Jesus, the cross, the Holy Spirit, Bible and prayer. We introduce them to the Sabbath experience, to healing, what happens when you die, the second coming of Jesus, and of course the Holy Spirit as well, how to share your faith, and also church as well. And we've got a whole lot of resources to go with it as well. We've got a journal, and you can see some of the pages that we've got from there. We've got a postcard that you can give to your friends if you just want to remind them of what, when and where it will be. And for the young people, we've got a website, well, for the older people as well, for the website, a Facebook page, a YouTube channel, and other resources as well. You know, this is the resource that we want to share with you as a church, as a conference as well. And to actually give you a taste of what it's like, I want to show you the very first episode of the I Am series. So this is the kind of very first topic, the very first experience that you could introduce your friends to. And so thank you very much. Mark will just go through the first episode together.
Your entire life consists of weighing up choices, whether it's the career you pursue, where you choose to live, or the friendships you make.
Or even the relationships you pursue. We are constantly experiencing this world through the choices that we make. But then there's always a thought, do these things really make us happy?
Or are we looking for satisfaction in the wrong places? We try and chase happiness through the clothes we wear, the cars we drive, and the holidays we go on.
But despite this, we're often left feeling unfulfilled. There is good news though. There is more to life than this. I'm Mary Ellen.
And I'm Ray. And together for the next few weeks, we will be exploring faith and meaning and the purpose of life.
Welcome to I Am.
Ooh, that's tough.
What makes me happy? To love and give love.
I guess friends.
Being able to do what I want to do.
Probably just accomplishment.
Feeling like I have a purpose and that I'm contributing in some way to a bigger picture.
There's always something more, I suppose.
You know, kind of in the rat race of life, your short-term goals are kind of like set up towards your long-term goals. And once you reach them, you're going to know whether or not you feel fulfilled and happy.
Yeah, I mean, you can always sort of improve your life. There's always things that people want and, you know, that would make you happier.
I'm not sure if there could be more. I guess I've thought a lot about this topic myself.
No, you have to work on it because you have good days and you have bad days. I think it's normal and it's the struggle that everyone has.
As humans, we have an innate hunger for happiness and satisfaction. The trouble is we often look to fuel this hunger with things that don't really satisfy. Hi, my name's Sven. When I was a teenager, I always dreamed of designing aeroplanes. So when I finished high school, I really wanted to do engineering. I ended up being accepted into the University of Canterbury. During my first year, I learned so many amazing concepts that had practical ways of improving people's lives. Then I found out that when I graduated, I could join a team that built satellites or power stations or even electric cars. At the end of the year, I was a little surprised to find out that I'd done rather well. I remember the day that Professor Peter Goff came up to me and said, "If you keep up these grades, you could get some pretty big scholarships." It was quite motivating. The idea of having more money and even being able to travel. So in my second year, I started to work really hard. I devoted every spare moment to study. But as I got closer to graduating, I had this growing sense that there had to be more to life than just this. Even though I was enjoying my study and was so close to my dream career, for some reason I wasn't satisfied. There was this gnawing hunger inside that I couldn't ignore. About this time, a friend of mine gave me a short book called The Pursuit of God. I really wanted to find out if it was possible to have a personal connection and relationship with God. And even more than that, who was this God? And did I want to have a relationship with him? Now that I'm a bit older, from what I've seen, most people try to fill the emptiness in their lives with anything other than God. They think that money or fame or a better relationship will finally make them happy. But even when their wildest dreams come true, the emptiness remains. Even those who appear to have it all figured out often feel lost. George Lucas, the creator of Star Wars, said, "You can be as rich and famous and powerful as you want to be, and it will not bring you happiness."
As a young kid, I loved playing volleyball. For me, it was highly competitive. I played to win. By the time I was 20, I was representing Queensland in volleyball, and it consumed me even more. I was obsessed. I played with professionals, and I wanted to be one. A lot of my friends who I competed with ended up playing for Australia at an Olympic level. But that was my dream too, to travel the world, to play at the Olympics, to have that gold medal around my neck. But now I look back and I can see that there was a hole in my life that I was trying to fill with volleyball. I chased this dream thinking that it would make me whole, but it didn't. Eventually, God helped me realize that a true fulfillment came only from a relationship with him. Fame, fortune, travel, all these things were great, but they were never enough. Instead of focusing on myself, I chose to give my life to God. And a relationship with him was the reward, not a gold medal or any praise from people. My mindset shifted. I wanted to use volleyball as a way to bring joy to others and not to myself. So I formed a social team, and we were able to be a positive influence to so many people, simply by being genuine, having fun, and knowing that Christ was at the center of it all. Little did I realize at the time that God was preparing me for the next season of my life as a minister and a speaker. Fast forward 5 years, and I've had countless opportunities to travel the world, meet amazing people, share God's word, and impact so many more people than I ever would have playing volleyball at an elite level. Nearly 3,000 years ago, a king called Solomon reigned in a time where kings answered to no one. He had the world at his fingertips. He had anything he desired, but at the end of the day, his life felt hollow and meaningless. King Solomon wrote, "Anything I wanted, I would take. I denied myself no pleasure. I even found great pleasure in hard work, a reward for all my labors. But as I looked at everything that I worked so hard to accomplish, it was also meaningless, like chasing the wind."
So at 25 years old, I pretty much saw myself living in New York City at a high-rise building, having the perfect view. I landed a great job after I graduated from college, which I attended in New York as well. And shortly after, I also got what the Americans consider to be one of the top jobs. And I actually went to work at the top investment bank in New York City, Goldman Sachs. And it was really great because I felt like I had the best job, career path was going great, I had great friends, I felt like my life was going on the right track. So it was about when I bought my first apartment, my first properties, and I had just hired architects and interior designers, and it was a really good timing. I had just made a big bonus from the bank, and I just started having everything I wanted and not having to worry about any money issues or being able to travel everywhere. And I was feeling really happy, but deep inside I still felt there was a need for something better. You just feel like, living in New York, you're always busy. There's always something to do. But at times, and I would say oftentimes, when you lay on your bed at night to go to sleep, there was this feeling of loneliness or emptiness. Like when I walked into my apartment for the first time, I remember everything like perfect, like as if I would see in a magazine. And just having that feeling, what now? I've got everything I want and I still feel like there's something missing. And it's kind of like you're climbing a mountain, and then you think when you get to the top, that's it, right? And when you get to the top, it's beautiful, but then you feel like, okay, when am I gonna climb the next mountain? So that's the feeling I had. It's interesting because sometimes we look for God when things are going wrong. And I believe that God wanted to tell me, I don't need you to go through the desert or to go through a car crash or something like that for you to turn to me. If you turn to me and you want me to give you something better, I can give that to you. So as I started longing for something better, I remember praying to God and asking Him to give me that something better. I believe now, after I've made some changes in my life and looking at my life now as I work supporting the community, I support my husband as a church planter. We work as a team and perhaps making, a fraction, maybe 2% of what I used to make before for a living. It's another challenge, but also really rewarding. Living with Jesus or having a life step by step with Jesus is amazing. I've always liked challenges, adventures, and living with Jesus, I feel like it's a gift to me because it is challenging. It is also adventurous. Letting God lead my agenda and letting Him support me. And as I am pregnant now, 39 weeks pregnant and ready to have a baby, I can feel the joy of being blessed by God that there's no money that can pay. It's really priceless to serve Jesus and to walk with Him every day.
During Jesus' time on earth, He showed so much compassion to those around Him. One day He was feeling a little tired, so He decided to take a short break by a well. Well, He was all alone when a woman came to draw water. Now, this woman had been in multiple relationships with various men, and as a result, felt a deep-seated sense of rejection and shame. Jesus knew this, and He asked her if she'd be so kind as to get him a drink. Well, she was shocked. She'd become an outcast in her own village and rejected by so many people. But as they started to talk, Jesus said, "I am the fountain of living water, and those who drink of the water that I give will never be thirsty again." You see, this metaphorical water that Jesus talks about is a genuine life that only He can give. At another time, Jesus said, "I am the bread of life." You see, He is the only one who can satisfy our hunger, purpose, and meaning in life. When I was a teenager, I put all of my self-worth in my achievements, I was that kid in high school who had perfectly polished shoes and always got straight A's. And when I'd succeed, I'd feel awesome, but when I'd fail, I felt absolutely worthless. It eventually got to the stage where I was putting so much pressure on myself that I was losing sleep, always stressed, and eventually developed insomnia as a result. But things got even worse when I was in university. You see, going from straight A's in high school, I started failing assignments for the first time in my life, and I didn't have any friends around me to support me, and I felt really alone, and all of these things happening at once made me realize that all of my self-worth was invested in these temporary things. I realized that I had to trust the value that God saw in me, or else I was probably going to have a nervous breakdown. And granted, sometimes I do revert back to that old way of thinking, but usually it's only temporary, because now I know that I can lean on God for my value, because nothing I do can make him love me any more or any less, especially when I fail.
People sometimes say, hey, I'm glad that Christianity works for you, but it's not important to me. My life is fine just the way it is. The interesting thing is that Christianity claims to be the truth. So logically, it's either true, which means it's true and important for everyone, or it's false, and billions of believers throughout history have been misled. C.S. Lewis, the author of the Chronicles of Narnia, put it perfectly when he said, Christianity, if false, is of no importance, and if true, of infinite importance. The only thing it cannot be is moderately important.
My parents didn't go to church. Around about the middle of high school, I studied Karl Marx, Mao Zedong. I was influenced for sure in terms of the communist ideology. And of course, what goes with that was really that there is no God, there is no creator. I would say I would have called myself an atheist even by that time. I think I'd become indifferent to God in high school, though by the time I got to university, I was sort of like the persecutor of Christians. I would argue with them and ask them questions like, where did the universe come from? How did you get life? And where did we come from? You know, answer these sort of questions from their perspective. And actually, they didn't offer me answers from the Bible. They often couldn't answer these fundamental questions. Looking back, I'm thinking that just reinforced my beliefs at the time. So I was quite antagonistic towards Christians in those early years. Yet I was looking for answers. There was a certain emptiness. There was a sort of a darkness in some ways. It's hard to describe this, because after I met Jesus, it's like the lights went on. It was like things started to have a purpose and reason, whereas before, as an atheist, I saw no purpose and no reason in the universe. But in hindsight, I could see for myself that I knew there was a God, but I was running away from God. I was ignoring the evidence. The evidence is all around us. I've spent 20 years working in universities as a professional physicist. I'm pro-science. I believe God's word, and all of the evidence I see is consistent with God's word, not in spite of. I see the fulfillment of the word of God in my life, the filling of the Holy Spirit in my heart, the illumination, the change of my mind it's almost like turning on a light switch is what happened to me, where God just radically transformed me. All the evidence I've seen since, historically, archaeologically, and scientifically, in terms of the geology and the astronomy and so on, supports that. If you're an atheist, to explain to you what it's like to know Jesus Christ is like trying to explain colour to a man who was born blind. I don't believe you can understand it until you meet Jesus Christ. You see purpose. You understand there is a purpose for life, and that's to know Him, and it's not ending in death. This life with Christ is only the beginning.
I I have this vivid memory back when I first got my driver's license. I was driving down a busy highway and there were lots of cars and street signs and street lights when suddenly I decided to take the turn off and found myself in a really dimly lit road with bushes on either side. Now, the car I was driving wasn't my own, and I didn't know how to adjust the headlights. But finally, when I found out how to turn on the high beam, I realized that, wow, now I could really see all the colors and shapes and houses. Whereas before I could see enough, now I could see everything. You see, this is the difference that Jesus makes. Jesus says, I am the light of the world, and those who follow me will never have to walk in darkness. Through Jesus, we see the clearest picture of who God really is.
Jesus said, I am the way, because it's through him that we can have a relationship with God. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life, and the evidence of Jesus' resurrection is proof of the life he offers us. You are his prized creation. He places infinite value on each one of us. It's why Jesus died on a cross. He died to free us from all the mistakes and bad choices we've made. After I read the book, The Pursuit of God, I realized that he was not only there the whole time, but he was actually pursuing me. I found out that regardless of what I've done, the Bible says God will always love me. As I went on to my doctorate, I found that the amount of evidence for the life, death, and resurrection of Christ is simply amazing, and I was convinced that it's the truth. That's when I decided to go on the journey to discover who God really is.
The I Am series is a chance to uncover the true meaning and purpose for all of our lives. It's an opportunity to examine the evidence for who Jesus Christ really is and what his death and resurrection means for all of us. Now, this is probably going to be a bit of a personal experience, but don't worry, we'll be going through it together. I know getting to know Jesus Christ has been the most rewarding adventure of my entire life, and I know it can be for you as well. So don't be afraid to just be yourself and be honest with where you're at as we delve into this exciting adventure together.
Plus, there's the opportunity to meet some great new friends along the way. Jesus encourages us to be in community with one another. We encourage you to share your thoughts and ask any questions that you may have, no matter how big or small they may seem.
There are some moments that will change your life forever.
This is one of them.
Developed this series to help young people, church members, new Christians and older Christians as well, to be able to share their faith in Jesus. And right around the country, we've had 7 teams piloting the series. We've had a group of young professionals over in Perth. We've had a Sabbath school class down in Adelaide, a young adult group in Melbourne, and here in Sydney, down in Caringbah, a teen group has gone through it together, and as well as Ashfield Church and Wetherill Park as well. And the amazing thing was this, is that I was speaking with Tim Grant, who's the youth leader down at Caringbah, and I said to him, just looking at sharing this with other churches, I said, what would you say to other churches if they wanted to run it with their teens and young adults? What would you say? Why would they want to do it? What would be the benefits of doing it? And, his response really blew me away. He said, I don't need to tell you why, because I've already had other churches contacting me and say, what do we need to do to run this series? And ultimately, at the conference office, we're dedicating this resource, this tool, this concept of introducing people to the great I Am, to enable churches, young people, and church members to lead people to Jesus and share the blessing and amazing journey with him. May God bless you as you consider whether you'd like to use this as well.